kids, my name's Miss Schonauer and I am going to show you how to make a skyscraper collage. Now if you've ever been to a big city or lived in a big city, they have lots of skyscrapers, and skyscrapers are very, very tall buildings. So before we get to creating the skyscrapers, I want to just tell you a little bit about lines and shapes. So when you first go to art school, one of the first things you learn about are lines and shapes. So what is a line? Well, I think you're probably familiar with the stand in line quietly, please, and get in a straight line. You probably remember those from school. But in art school, they teach you that a line is the path made by a moving point. So if I put my pencil point here and then just kept drawing and then stopped, well, there's a line. So I think you recognize that. There are all different kinds of lines. There are, let's see, loop-de-loops and zigzags and let's see, that's another type of zigzag. So now when you make a shape, that is just a closed line. So if I start here and I go this way, and then let's say I'm going to go around that way and then around that way, and then I go back to where I started, that's a closed line, and a closed line is a shape. And you know there are all kinds of shapes, like triangles and squares and rectangles. So today you're going to use lines and shapes to create your skyscrapers. Now I'm going to show you some examples of skyscrapers, real life ones. So here is a picture of New York City at nighttime. So notice all of the lines and look at those windows. There's tons and tons of windows. And look at the shape here of this building. This is called the Chrysler Building. It's a very famous building in New York City. So that is an example of skyscrapers. I'm going to show you a couple of others to give you a little inspiration before we start making the collage. Here is also New York City during the daytime and a different viewpoint. And just notice all the different heights of the buildings. Some are taller than others. And this one is a roundish one, roundish shape. And then we have another New York City skyscraper. And this is a very unusual shaped building. And look at all of those windows. I used to live in New York City, and I used to love walking down the street, and sometimes I would just stop on the sidewalk and look up and look all around at those beautiful skyscrapers. Here is Chicago, and this is a cityscape, a skyline at nighttime. So here's another example of skyscrapers. And then one more example. This is Houston, Texas. So this is a great example of showing the different heights of the building. And this has a different, it's not just a flat top. And then we've got, this is a very interesting top of the building there. And there's different heights and different shapes. So there you go. So now I'm going to show you a couple of examples, and then you will start making your own. So here is one example that I made of my collage. And the first thing I did was I cut out the different building shapes that I wanted. And you notice there are different tops and different sizes. And then I laid them on the paper and decided my arrangement, and when I liked that, then I glued it down. Then I went back and I took different color of construction paper and cut out a bunch of windows. And you notice all the different shapes, rectangles, then we have squares and triangles. And then I laid those down on the top of the buildings. And once I liked my arrangement, I glued it down. And then I was done. So that is what you are going to do. Now, this particular collage, there's space in between the buildings, and the background is red. Now, the next one I'm going to show you, it's a little bit different. Here, the buildings are close together. So you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buildings. This one I have a building overlapping. And this one has a triangle for the roof, this one too. And I had what I call decorative paper that I used to cut out for the windows. And when I cut those out, I didn't measure. I just went right to the paper and cut them out with the scissors. And they're not supposed to be perfect. They're supposed to be a little quirky anyway. And then for the sky, I cut out the blue cardstock and just glued that down too. So, are you ready to get started? Yep, we're gonna go get started. Okay, so I'm going to put a couple of pictures here to give you some ideas. Just give you a little peek, maybe give you some inspiration. Okay, so I have my, let's see here, I have my white paper, and now I have some colored paper here, and I'm going to just, I'm not going to do a whole complete collage, that would take forever. That's why I made a sample for you, so I'm just going to show you how to get started. So I have some green paper here, and I'm just going to cut, just going to cut all the way to the top, and I'm going to lay that down there. And then, let's see, I think I want red next to that, and I might cut a different kind of shape. And then I might lay that down right there, like that. And let's see, oops. How about yellow? Oh, I already like how I have the shape already worked out. So you could use a ruler if you wanted to really be precise, but it's kind of fun just to use your free hand and not worry about being perfect and just having fun with it. And so there I have 3 shapes for buildings. So now these are all about the same height, so I might want to cut one. So I think I will cut this one and just make it a little shorter for variety. There we go. So you're going to decide how high you want your skyscrapers, how wide, that's totally up to you. So now, okay, let's say, I'm not going to do the whole collage for you. I'm going to just do part of it. So now I like how that arrangement is, so I'm going to just take some glue, and you don't need a ton of glue. You could always add more. It's very hard to clean up a glue mess. It's just really yucky and messy, and it makes your work kind of yucky looking. So you want to put some glue on there. I'm going to move this out of the way, and then I'm going to put that there. Okay, I got one down. And I'm going to put some glue on the red. And then place that next to that. Now, as far as the sky goes, you could, depending on what art materials you have at home, you could, with a crayon, a marker, colored pencil, with paint, you could create a sky. And you could do a daytime sky or a nighttime sky. That's totally up to you. It's your choice as the artist, as the architect of your skyscrapers. So I'm having all the buildings next to each other. And remember, you can overlap them, like my example here. I have a building overlapping these two buildings. And I did use construction or cardstock for the sky here. But as I said, you could color it in, or you can use construction paper to create your sky. That's totally up to you. Okay, so I've got my buildings. So now I want to do windows. I want to add windows. So I already cut out some windows just to save a little time. And so I'm going to, first I'm going to decide where I want them before I glue them down. Let's say I want to do that there. And, well, maybe I'll go like that. See, you don't want to glue anything until you're really, really sure where you want your windows. Or you could make doors. It could be giant, doors instead of windows. Windows could just be at the top. Again, that is totally up to you. Okay, I'm going to go with that arrangement. Just a little bit of glue. And of course, if you use too much glue and it squishes out, just take a tissue and just gently wipe away the gooey glue. Okay, and then here's this window going this way. I like to make them go different directions. And one more here. Okay. So there are the windows for that building. I also used the decorative paper, and then for variety, I also used solid color construction paper to make windows. So here I've got some pieces I had already cut out. And remember, they don't have to be perfectly measured. You could just, with your hand, just cut the shapes out, just have fun with it. It kind of looks fun when it's a bit quirky. So that's how you can use the different kinds of papers. So then I would glue those down, and maybe I would put some going this way. And I think I had some circular type windows on this collage here, and I just cut it with my hand, so it's not a perfect circle, but I like it that way. I like it kind of kooky. Okay, so once you have all your windows laid out, then glue them down, and then decide how you want to make your sky. And you can make the nighttime sky or a daytime sky, and you can either use construction paper or color it in with markers, crayons, colored pencils, or paint the background, the sky background. So that's the end of the lesson, and have fun. Thank you.